Hello and welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman, and in this lesson, we're going to learn how to improvise your own arrangement of a famous Irish folk tune, Danny Boy. Let's check out the lead sheet to get started. Here's the lead sheet for Danny Boy. Remember, with the lead sheet, all we get is the melody line, and then some chord symbols up above are provided, allowing you, the performer, the chance to use your own imagination to improvise an accompaniment. So let's check out what key we're in. Our key signature has 4 sharps, F, C, G, D, and seeing that our first chord is E major tells us that we're in the key of E major. If you don't know the key of E major, I suggest you watch my earlier lesson on E major, which will really help you play this song today. Now, if it's helpful to you, one thing you can do is go through and circle any notes that are sharped automatically by the key signature. So circle all the F's, C's, G's, and D's in the melody to help remind you which are going to be sharp, because there are a lot of sharps in this melody. So pause if you'd like some time to circle the sharp notes. Otherwise, let's keep going and check out the counting. Now I see our time signature is 4/4, which tells us we'll have 4 quarter note beats in every measure. Well, I don't see 4 beats right here, which tells us we have pickup notes. So how do we know what beat we do start on? Well, you find your first bar line and we count backwards from there. So I know this has to be beat 4 because 2 eighth notes equal 1 beat, and the last beat before the bar line has to be 4. Now we have this one more eighth note, which tells me we have to start on the and of an imaginary beat 3. So we're starting on the and of beat 3. So I could count in like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Don't forget that dotted quarter notes get 1.5 beats, so that will last 1 and 2. And this eighth note comes on the and of 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and quarter note 2 and gets both halves of beat 2, and this eighth rest gets 3 and 4 and. Now, if it's helpful to you to write in the counts, feel free to pause the video and do that in your own music. It's very important that we hold these dotted quarter notes. This half note needs to last 1 and 2 and 3. This song is marked andante, which means we're going at a relaxed, medium slow tempo. So take your time on these longer notes. And 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. And those longer notes, those rests, are a really important part of the music. Now, the focus of my lesson today is going to be helping you improvise the accompaniment using these chords. But I'd like to leave it up to you to teach yourself how to play the melody part with your right hand. So pause the video at this point, download and print the sheet music, and teach yourself the right hand melody part. Make sure you're counting and holding these longer notes long enough. And then press play, and we'll learn how to do the accompaniment together. So let's play through the melody once. I'm going to play it, and you're welcome to play along with me, or you can just listen. I'll count in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then I'll start on the and of 3. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3, and 2 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 3, and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3. Now I was adding in that counting just to help me make sure I was holding all of those longer notes long enough. If that matched what you played, great job. If you need more time to practice the melody, it's important that you have the melody down before we try adding in the left-hand part. So take whatever time you need to make sure you've got it confident. Now, the great thing about a lead sheet is you have so many possibilities. There is no one right or wrong way to do this. Today I'm just going to show you some possibilities, and then on your own, I want you to make this song your own. Figure out how you want to add in a left-hand accompaniment part. Let's start with some simple options. One very common accompaniment pattern on piano is to take the root of the chord, like this first chord symbol says E. If you don't see a little m, that means it's major. So this will be E major. Here's our E major triad, but it's rare to do that kind of closed position. Very often down low, we'll leave out the third of the chord and just go root, fifth, root. See how I took this E major triad, I left out the third, so that's the root, that's the fifth. But if I use my finger 2, then I can add one more root on top. And if I hold down my damper pedal, you'll see what a beautiful sound that can make. It's so simple, yet beautiful. Listen how this could sound for the start of Oh Danny Boy. Oh. See how beautiful that is? It's very simple. So try this with me. 5, 2, 1. If you've been doing my lessons with me, you've seen this kind of pattern before, like in Autumn Moon. Oh, Danny boy. And then what would we do for A? Well, we can do the same idea. Here's our A major triad, but I'm going to leave out the third. So I just have root, fifth, root for A. Root, fifth, root. So now listen to it this far. Oh, Danny boy, the pipes. A. Okay, I'd like you to pause the video and work on adding in this kind of accompaniment pattern to this first line. So it's just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You'll see that because that measure has E for all 4 beats, 1 and 2 and, I need to fill it up with all 4 beats, 3 and 4 and then I get one full measure of A. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So pause the video and work on the left-hand accompaniment and then see if you can add in the melody. So you're playing both the melody in the right hand and that accompaniment pattern in the left hand at the same time. Line 1, try that on your own, then press play to go on. Now check out measure 3. Now instead of spending one full measure on one chord, we only get 2 beats on a G sharp minor. Here's our G sharp minor chord, but again, I'm going to leave out that third, so I just go root, fifth, root. All black keys, root, fifth, root. Try that with me. Glen. But in the middle of measure 3, we switch to a C sharp minor chord. So I'm not going to have time to do this pattern twice. I'm only going to have time to do it once, because we'll have 1 and 2, and then I need to switch to C sharp minor. And once again, I'm going to leave out the third and just maybe do this. Or if I want, I could come down an octave here. Whatever you think sounds best. So here's my G sharp minor, 1 and 2, and then C sharp minor, and 2, and. Let's listen to that with the right hand part. From Glen to Glen, and down the mountain. Now I need an A major, side. I only get 2 beats on that, and then I come to a B. The summer's gone. Okay, so let's look at just the left-hand part for measures 3 and 4. So I could go G sharp, then C sharp, then A, then B. And then with the melody, we get Glen to Glen, and down the mountainside, A to a B, the summers. Then we go to E again. And all the roses fall. It's you. And let's stop there. Now, I'd like you to pause the video and on your own, work on measures 3 and 4 and 5, just line 2. Work on the left-hand part by itself, then try playing it with the melody in the right hand. Pause to work on that, then press play to go on. So let's go on to line 3. Here in measure 6, we have falling with A in the left hand. It's you. It's now. Here we have an interesting symbol. We see an E/B. E/B means play an E major chord, but the lowest note in the bass is actually going to be a B. So sometimes, instead of putting an E on the bottom, which we normally would for an E major triad, sometimes a composer may want a special note down low, and in this case, that's what that /B means. It means put a B on the bottom, and you might like to do it with octaves. So you have to play a B down low and then an E major triad up high. So it could be like this. It's you, it's, maybe I'll just play this B here, you. And then I'm going to play an E major triad. So it's B on the bottom, and then E major triad, must, and then a B7 means a B major chord with a 7th above the root, which is this A. So B7, again, means a B major plus a 7th, which is this A above B. So that's our chord for B7. So we could do it's you, must go, See, I just kind of did a broken chord, partially broken, and then I do a little block of these top 2 notes for that B7. See how I did that? So here's my E/B. So B is on the bottom. And then I'm going to do this E major triad, partially broken. B, E, and then I do a little 2-note chord there. And then for the B7, I go boom, boom, boom. Okay, try that with me. So here's the E/B. B has to be on the bottom because that's the note that's after the slash. That means play that on the bottom. And then I do this little E major, and then we do our B7 like that. It's you, must go, and I must bide. And then maybe I'll just do a little broken chord like that, or I could come back to our original pattern that we were doing. Remember, there's no right or wrong. I'm just showing you options. Any note in the E major triad and all of its inversions are allowed. When you see that E major chord, I could do that. I could do that. I could do inversions back and forth. If I wanted it to sound really dramatic, you know, see? I can do a bunch of E major inversions. This is why we practice inversions, because sometimes when you're making an accompaniment, you might want to use them. And because I've practiced those, see how easy that is. But it's just an E major triad in lots of its inversions. You can do it broken. This is why we practice arpeggios. See, I'm just doing an E major arpeggio now, and that could be beautiful too. Oh, Danny. I'm just using patterns. I'm using chords to add a beautiful accompaniment. And you can do this too. If you just think about what chord you're using and just go through some arpeggios, however your imagination is telling you to play. Let's look at a few other possible patterns you can use with this song. What if instead of this, For our first measure, we did 1 and 2 and. See what I did? Is I just did an E to a G. Again, leaving out the third, because down low on the piano, thirds can sound kind of muddy. So the lower you go, the more you want to think about leaving out that third. 1 and 2 and. And then I come up and I play a very gentle E major triad. Oh, Danny boy. See, now I come down low and I do A major again. A major, root, fifth, triad. Root, fifth, triad. Try this with me. Let's go to E, E, B, gentle triad. Try that. E, B, triad. Then A, E, triad, A, E, triad. This is just another option for your accompaniment. Again, there's no right or wrong. You could go for E. Here's another possibility, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. See, I'm just using the notes of E major and just being creative. It's just chords. It sounds really fancy, doesn't it? But I'm just looking at the chord symbols and then just breaking the chord up in arpeggios. Now, I've been practicing this for a long time, so it may be like, oh, you know, it looks so easy, but it's going to take you some practice to get used to putting the melody with these different accompaniment patterns. But be patient with yourself and just, again, at first you can keep it really simple. All you need is root, fifth, root. You can keep your accompaniment that simple, but then if you want to start to vary it, maybe you go back and forth a little bit. Root, fifth, you know. You can start to let your imagination show your fingers some new things you want to try. Let's listen to the whole thing with me improvising an accompaniment just to show you some ideas. And then on your own this week, I'd like you to make this arrangement your own. Take your left hand and try out different accompaniment patterns. See what you like, and then put it together with the right hand and try to make an interesting and beautiful arrangement of Danny Boy. Now, you might have noticed when the song got to this climax, I started even adding in some 16th notes in my accompaniment instead of 1 and 2, and I started doing 1 E and 2 E and That's one other option, is you can start to play with the rhythms to make them more intense, more exciting. There are no limits. Your imagination can take you wherever you want to go with these chords and how you turn that into your own beautiful arrangement of Danny Boy. Thanks for watching and learning with me today. I hope you enjoy being creative and exploring all the different ways you can add accompaniment to Danny Boy. Happy practicing, and see you next time. Okay, here's one for you. Why should you never compose music with a broken pencil? Because it's pointless. Well, that was a pretty good one, but I'd say you need to sharpen up your delivery. Ooh, I'm gonna try and erase the memory of you saying that just now. Ooh. Hey, it's your fault. You shouldn't have led us on like that.
Well, I hate to be blunt, but I think we gotta go now.
You're right.